Okay, cool. TJ Gonen, thank you for joining us. Question number one, and the most important question: where is Benson, and why is he not on the phone?
Is actually no, he's here. He's in the back. Don't worry, it's very close. I was
This-
actually surprised before we started. It was on my lap as usual, but then he got tired of me and just moved. He's sitting here on the bed behind.
yeah, the videos with you performed relatively well, and I'm trying to convince people internally that it's Benson. It's not actually you at all.
It's probably missing.
The reason we're on the phone is Benson. Listen,
It is.
we last spoke a couple of months ago. Um, we both believed at the time that AI security was forming into a proper market or capability or thing. Tell me about how you see that evolving now in
Right.
August.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, definitely the market is transitioning between trying to figure out what does AI security even mean and what are the use cases into, hey, I need one. And I think that's the biggest difference probably from a year ago. A year ago, the market was in a situation where people were playing with AI. Forget AI. AI security comes on the back of people actually doing AI, right? So if you don't do AI, if you don't do real AI, you don't need security for AI. So a year ago, if you would go, people were trying to explore just a second, what are the real risks? And most even the discussion, on thought leadership, social media, whatever was around, trying to figure out the top 10 risks of AI. That was the discussion. Like if you would go back and you would try to do whatever perplexity deep research, it would tell you that's the discussion. Today, the discussion is, okay, I need to do something about it because I'm actually starting to deploy things. So if you would do a chart of the adoption of AI tooling, started with basic stuff, chatbots, all sorts of things. Now, very fast move to real applications, doing real things. Now, agentic. So people understand they actually have to do something. So that's the biggest thing. I think 2025, even though a lot of people didn't think it's going to be so fast, what is really the year of people actually doing production grade things with AI. Production grade. Now, I want to put it into perspective. It's not where you would meet companies, and I'm talking larger organizations, and they would have replaced an entire army of people with AI, or they have an application that's 100% AI. What you see is they have pieces. What people have done over the last year, and I've been involved in a lot of this from multiple different angles, is they took certain use cases and said, hey, why is a human doing this stuff? This should be fully automated or agentic AI, whatever. And they replace this piece. There's still like this side of a thing around it that's not AI, it's regular, but there's a piece here that's AI. Once you started doing that and they're part of a critical process, then that's it. You have to do something around security. You're starting asking yourself basic question. What is it doing? Is it doing what it's supposed to do? And sometimes it's also, can I check the box and tell my boss that, yeah, I did some AI security. So the market is starting to define itself. I think 2025 is the year of people going into production with simple use cases, I want to say. But they're real and they're going into production. Then next few years are going to be crazy because this accelerated really, really fast. This
Mm.
is not, again, a year ago, we were talking about, yeah, people are playing with it, they're trying. There's this chatbot. Even if you remember, like most of the examples from a year ago where, hey, I asked the Adidas website, what's the best shoe? And it told me Nike. Ooh, right? Like it was that, if you're like literally, that was a year ago. These were the examples people gave a year ago. You never hear that stuff again. It's done, right? People moved on. Stuff, if you do it right, if you put the effort, it will do what it's supposed to do to a large extent. Again, in a very contained use case, and they put it into production. So exciting times. Yeah, next few years are going to be crazy. It's going to accelerate even faster with agentic and the rest of the stuff.
Want to double click into the production piece. So the first time we met, Q4 last
Yeah,
year,
yeah,
um, you described in detail 2024 being the year of the POC, trying
right,
things, a couple of internal use cases. I know we don't need AI security right now. We've a low risk kind of internal use case. We're going to see how that
yeah,
goes. And you talked about 2025 being the year of performance and
right,
speed
yeah,
and latency being at the tip of the spear.
yeah, yeah,
From our side, when a CalypsoAI hat on, the tip of the spear has now shifted into we are the only platform capable of scaling and servicing the enterprise with
Yeah,
validated performance metrics from some of the biggest
right.
organizations in the world. And I
Yeah,
think for me, the most extraordinary thing is the amount of time that took. Q4 last year, it was
yeah,
we have an agentic red team capability. That's why we're
yeah,
different. Come with us. This year,
yeah,
it's well now everything has kind of standardized itself. Lots of
yeah,
folks have similar capabilities. It's now down to performance and speed.
yeah,
Tell me about how
yeah.
that reflects in your observations.
Yeah, it's I was, a lot of markets went through that transition.
Mm,
So everything that happens with AI is just happening faster. It's a faster, rapid replica of what happened in the past. So
mm,
think about the hype cycle, right, in a space. Let's say cloud, which I was very much involved in when it started. So when it started, people said, hey, I just need to answer these 5 questions. What do I have in the cloud? How is it configured? Whatever. When you had 100 machines in the cloud, you could buy whatever startup tool, it would probably be able to answer this question. And that was the initial evolution of the space, right? At the beginning, there were not a lot of huge cloud deployment. It took a long time for people to move to the cloud. I remember the first cloud product I released was 2012. You didn't spend $1 on cloud security until really 2018, 2019, right?
mm,
Why? Because the questions that you needed to answer were really easier to answer. So it just didn't matter. Like you could buy like some startup tool and it would be okay. When suddenly you add companies with 20,000 virtual machines in the cloud, the basic stuff that was just, yeah, everybody says the same, just didn't work, didn't scale, wasn't operationalized. You couldn't use it. And this is one of the things that people always get wrong. You when you talk about scale, even think about AI for a second, is that when let's say that you have 100 things you need to do, like 100 security actions. Let's say think about let's say requests, right? You need to scan 100 requests. If you have 5% false positive, with 100 requests, it's 5. So let's say you just have 100 requests because it's the beginning of the journey. It's a small
mm.
system. So you say, okay, you know what? It was wrong 5 times. Now you're in production. It's 100 million requests.
Yeah.
You're still 5%. That 5% suddenly is you get a heart attack. Say, oh my, no, we can't be wrong like 50 million times a day. It's impossible. So that's what happened with most of most industries went through this transition when just works in a small POC environment or in a small production environment, but it's small, limited use case. It's not a big deal. You can be okay. When you go into actual scale deployment, okay is not okay. That's the thing. Okay is just not okay anymore. And we give examples of accuracy, let's call it. But it's also, I'll give you another example, which is how do I manage policy? Let's say you launch, I remember in cloud it was the same, in AppSec it was the same. Hey, I launched one application in the cloud. Ooh, boom, 2 years after I have 50. Just a second, I need to manage policy across 50 applications. That UI that I liked, or the policy engine that I was managing one app, that there's no way in hell I can manage 50 applications with that policy engine.
Mm.
It's the same here, right? You had one use case. That's why we tried, right? To emphasize to customers, and I think they're figuring it out now themselves, that when you test, and you saw this yourself, right? Like with Calypso, when you did a POC a year ago, and when we did a POC a year ago, even the POC was rudimentary
Yeah.
because they didn't even know what scale looks like. So they would try to like bombard it with some data set, but it was one straight line. When you go into production, suddenly you have like 50 of those. So you start asking yourself totally different question. The companies, this is where I think a lot of times startups lose the context a lot of the times of, yeah, my stuff works. Works where and in what context and how big is very different. Nailing down enterprise grade, large deployment, manageable, scalable, accurate when you have 100 applications processing 100 million requests per day. It's not the same product. So yeah, so you can put on a website, I do X. That's not where POCs today are. That was where POCs a year ago were.
Hmm.
They were
For
very
sure.
basic. They were very basic. And then you could hear stuff like, oh yeah, I have whatever AWS guardrails. It also does that. Really? Have you tried to manage freaking policy across AWS guardrail if you have 100 applications with 100 different types of data? It's not built for it. It's just not built for it. Yeah, if you have one use case, small use case, you want to do one thing, maybe it will be good enough and whatever. And that's and not a lot of volume of traffic. So you're okay with okay accuracy. Fine, but there's just scenarios. Most of the scenarios that people are going to do in production are just you can't play. You just can't play with non-enterprise grade. So yeah, so I think Calypso. I mean, you could almost be judgmental around this decision from the get-go to build an enterprise grade system because theoretically we could move faster by just doing crappy job and just be good enough for POCs of a year ago. But I
Hmm.
think the company, made a great decision in just building enterprise grade from the get-go. And assuming it's going to happen relatively fast, which it happened. I mean, the speed that this thing is happening is insane. Like the move between, hey, I'm just playing with it to I'm in production and I can't afford 1% more of accuracy is what, in 6 months, 7 months, 8 months? It's crazy.
Wild.
It's wild. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so AI security as a domain, we've commented on. AI
Yeah.
insecurity. From your
Yeah.
purview, how is AI accelerating the kind of traditional verticals within cybersecurity, whether it's TDR,
That,
IAM, WAF,
yeah.
AppSec, DataSec network?
I'll try to keep it high level because we can talk about this for 2 hours, but I'll split it into two. And also I'll talk about the outcomes. I think one, you're gonna see a new category which just didn't exist, which is replacing this or augmenting. People hate the term replacing. I think a lot of it is replacing, but augmenting slash replacing security operations, right? Which is not a security tool. It used to be David and Sharon, and they worked on something, and it's going to be replaced by agentic AI doing stuff. New employee onboarding, offboarding, doing compliance, assessments, whatever. Agentic AI. It's just a lot of this stuff, a lot of human labor services. Think about the services side or the employee side. They're going to be that category didn't exist.
Hmm.
It used to be called HR, right? You hired people for it. So that category didn't exist I mean, maybe automation, but really automation lived in very limited areas in security. So in the SOC usually. So I think that's a new category. AI in security it's not just in security. Obviously, you have the equivalents of that in other areas, but in cyber specifically, there's a new category. Gartner didn't call it anything yet. It will come up with some acronym that calls what I just said as a thing, which is tools that just do security work. They're not a tool. So that's number one. I think that's going to be just a new category. In the existing categories, this is really the most, I've been doing this for 30 years. This is the craziest period of time for disruption. There's full on categories that are going to be literally fully disrupted. And I'm really interested to see how it will play out incumbents versus new ones. Because you're starting to see, right, not just in security, that there's these companies that scale from 0 to a gazillion in like 2, 3 years because the value of new tools is it's not incremental, it's disruption. So people are adopting it way faster. So it would be interesting to see how fast incumbents go and acquire a disruptor. And then, there's always the risk of acquiring a disruptor and then ruining it because you're an incumbent, or in a disruptor like literally killing an industry. I'll give you an example of something that's even a bit related to Calypso, even though we're not like that. But think about offensive security, like pen testing and red teaming and all that stuff. Today's world, there's that I don't know I don't want to throw a number for no reason, but it's billions on top of billions that are spent every year on penetration testing, right? Every company has a huge budget for it. You have to do it for compliance, whatever. Assessment, security assessment. It's done in a time, right? It's a snapshot because it's human. That market in 3 years from now is going to be fully replaced by continuous pen testing, red teaming, 95% agentic. That there's just no way it's not. No way it's not. There's no other trajectory. So that's going to be, it's a huge disruption for companies who are spending developing tools for the space or providing services in this case. So I think it's going to be categories are going to be food, the SOC, right? The Security Operations Center, where you have 100 analysts in the back end doing. It's going to be disrupted. DLP, data leakage prevention. We have a DLP mode that's going to be disrupted because you can just do things you could never do before. You can do tech that you never did before. So I think AI is going to really, inside, like I said, create new categories like the operation, like do things that humans used to do, right? It's going to make existing things just way better, like DLP, and it's going to full on disrupt categories like offensive security is a good example, but a bunch of others where the SOC, right? The AI SOC, and you see a bunch of companies operating in that space that are going to really be disrupted. The interesting thing, just to wrap this thing up, I don't know, in 2 years from now, a lot of things are going to look very different. This is not going to take 10, 15 years. Again, the velocity on this thing is unmatched because it's the accumulation of all the other, we talked about it, I think, before. It's this accumulation of all the previous revolutions. Like cloud wouldn't happen without internet, and AI wouldn't happen without cloud and internet and availability of bandwidth and data centers and whatever. Everything is just there, right? And the world is just more techy. So it's going to be, yeah. So it's the biggest disruption. It's a huge disruption.
TJ, on the velocity piece and the speed that this is
Yeah.
unraveling, I'm personally interested in what drew you to us a year ago or a year or so ago, given that a year is like a dog year in AI security. It's about
Right,
7 years
right,
ago.
right.
Was
Yeah.
it, our
Beyond the
fantastic
sex appeal,
jokes? Yeah, exactly.
this
Yeah. Our good looks
beyond the
and our
sex appeal,
jokes.
good looks. Yeah, the jokes were,
Yeah,
by the way,
yeah.
super helpful.
What caught your eye?
Yeah, I think there's a couple of things. First, by the way, joking aside, put technology aside, people, right? At my super old age, I don't want to spend time with energy takers and people I don't like to spend time with. It's just not my thing. I'm too old for that stuff. So it is people. It does start with people, right? And yes, I want to be involved today, specifically where I really measure where I spend time is I want to be involved with people I like to spend time with in an industry or solution space. For it doesn't have to be an industry or category. Solution space that solves a real problem or will solve a real problem. Otherwise, again, it's just not, I don't want to spend time with. And then the combination of both, which is people who have a very clear belief, almost high conviction, like super, super high conviction of what good is going to look like when either in an existing space because you're disrupting it or in a new space. Super, super high conviction. And I think with Calypso, there were a lot of AI security companies out there, and I knew most of them. I think, the Calypso focus around, hey, we're going to do what we called AppSec, right? AI for application security, focus on the AI you build rather than try to do most of the companies try to do everything for everyone, right? Hey, we're gonna do shadow AI on the browser plugin and Copilot, which is all really cute, right? I never believed in that use case, to be fair. Like I think it's gonna be commoditized super, super fast. Um, and that high conviction that this stuff to do this right, in order to do this right, in order to do, let's call it application security, right? Like for developers, security for AI developers, for people who build application. If we want to do this right, we have to focus on this so we can build it at scale. All the stuff we talked about before. That's what I really liked about the storyline here. That said, I'm trying to think even when we started to talk, was there anyone else that said, I'm just going to do this and I'm going to do this right? I think literally I can't come up with anyone. Still until today, most of the companies they're very proud of we are full life cycle AI security from the browser to code scanning to all the way to this. And I think I'm not, but a lot of them will be successful, I'm sure. It just didn't feel right at the time, and I think it's going to be hard to solve. So I think, yeah, that was the gamble. Again, people, space, super high conviction about a thesis I believed in, and here we go. And it's not like it was some of these bets. You never know how they're going to come together. You might find yourself in a year from now saying, shit, oh, damn, we should have done the browser plugin that would do Copilot something, something, whatever, right? You never know how this is going to come. But I think it was the right bet for the company and obviously the people. It's been an awesome experience. So didn't screw up that one. And the jokes, obviously, the jokes.
Look, from our side, it's been a blast, TJ. Like to see you doubling, tripling, quadrupling down on that bet and investing more and more time.
Yeah,
I've been personally blown away by the level of depth you're willing to go to it with us, like in the weeds with like
yeah,
daily, what many would consider operational kind of tasks. So for
yeah.
that, we're grateful and thank you.
Yeah,
Um,
but you guys are different also in that. You know that when people want to build advisory boards, I send them to you to tell them how it's done. And you want to bring, because a lot of people don't do this correctly, right?
mm,
And we talked about this multiple times. You bring people, oh, so to be fair, one, a lot of people don't necessarily, when they join a journey like this, they're not necessarily, they join like 500 journeys and then
mm.
you just can't dedicate time. So it really depends on what's the premise of someone joining. The second thing, you really need to take the most out of it, and it has to be fun. If it's not fun, if you're not feeling part of it, then you will never get the way that we were able to build this with Calypso. Yeah, so it's not work, right? If it's fun, you know that statement, right? It's very hard. This is every hour spent with Calypso, most of them, except like when you or Jimmy or DC had like really bad jokes. The rest was fun.
Yeah, it's obviously a well-trodden cliche. Like if you enjoy what you're doing, it doesn't feel
Yeah,
like work. But this is the first time that has rang true with me in a position in my career. I think it's because what we're trying to do is so unbelievably hard
yeah,
from a
yeah,
technical perspective, from a market perspective, a timing perspective, brand positioning, everything, the whole lot. Like if it's not fun, you would go mad. You know what I mean?
yeah,
Like it
yeah,
would be
yeah,
impossible to take on. It's not
yeah.
like a normal
No.
piece of work. So
By the way, don't take this for granted. If you do another startup at some point in life, you all of us, everyone that's been involved, it's a blessing to be involved in a journey that's hard but fun.
mm,
A lot of journeys are not fun. So there you go. Let's celebrate the moment.
for sure. Listen, TJ, parting thought is don't show up to the next one of these videos without Benson. That's the only
A
piece of
second. Where
advice
is
I
it?
can give you.
Bendito. You wanna come say hello to Shane or what? He's like
Bendito.
yeah, his
He's chilling. He's good.
his
TJ,
ceiling
thank you
is
very
in
much.
that. Thank you, man. Appreciate you.
Appreciate
Always
you.
good.
Thank you.